How's it going, everyone? I'm David Hoffman with Behind the Catch Fence. We're here in Bristol for the Thunder Valley Nationals. We're standing next to me, two-time and defending champion Gaige Herrera in Pro Stock Motorcycle. Gaige, first off, appreciate taking the time. And today we're actually going to go for a little bit of a tour, get an inside look at what a Pro Stock motorcycle is, how they go about tuning it and everything else. So Gaige, you ready to take us for a tour?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's give you guys a tour. All right, so let's start off with the Pro Stock Motorcycle tour here at Vance Hines. Basically, here's our machine. It's all built in-house at Vance Hines chassis, everything. The body is designed in-house by Andrew Hines and them, but obviously it's Suzuki Gen 3 Hayabusa, chrome moly chassis. But yeah, so there's not as much to it as like a funny car, but there is a lot to it. So we got aluminum wheelie bars, we got the spun Cosman wheel. There's a lot of different stuff. We run Motec M130 EFI. As you look in here, it looks pretty busy. It's because there's a lot going on. We got all the electronics, all the little stuff that makes this thing work. I feel like that's sometimes the most critical thing that can cause a run. I mean, in Charlotte, for instance, I had this one little wire break off and missed a qualifier, so that that hurt us there. But yeah, so the motor's based off old GS. I think it's the 1980s, but now it's 113 cubic inches, all billet. Vance Hines block, Vance Hines cases, head, everything. So they make about roughly 400 horsepower on the dyno.
How many times can you make a run on it before you have to get a new one or rebuild it?
As far as the time life, there's a lot of variables in that. It has a lot to do with the tuner more than anything. Sometimes we get one run, sometimes we go a whole weekend. It just depends. But each bike we have 2 spares, sometimes 3. Just depends on the weekend. Like this weekend in particular, we're running 3 bikes under one tent, which is not too often. But yeah, I mean, so it's a chrome moly chassis. The chassis they last a long time unless you have a big crash or something like that. But yeah, we run a 10-inch slick.
Those last a good bit, or?
Yeah, so honestly, I mean, I didn't believe it until I first started riding over here. We get close to 100 runs on some tires, which is insane to me. I'm used to 20 runs, throw it away on my heads-up stuff I do with my personal stuff. So it's definitely a little different there. Front tires, they last forever. Yeah, we run. There's a lot of different little stuff to it. As you can walk around the other side. This is how we start the engines with all remote start from the crew guys, stuff like that. It's a 6-speed transmission, all auto. We've button shift it. Trying to think. So yeah, it's amazing what these little motors make for horsepower. I hold the current national record at 662 at 204 from Dallas in 2003, and it's stuck since. So it's very cool to have an inline 4 and to have Suzuki hold the national record on top of that. Because our class varies between Suzukis and V-twins. We're 113 cubic inches, they're like 160, I believe. So it's but NHRA does good with the rules to make the parity pretty good.
At the starting line and getting up and going, what's sort of your procedure with getting the best light that you can and make sure everything works right?
Yeah, so my crew guy Jay, he does the clutch, does all that. He basically makes sure the bike is tip-top shape for me. Going to the line, that gives me a lot of, relaxes me. I would say, to take stress off my shoulders. But my biggest thing is to go up there and just go have fun. I don't really look into it too deep. I just go out there, have fun, try to cut a light, and just focus on what I'm doing at hand. Like I said, I like to have fun with it. And me and Jay in the water box, we always be cracking little jokes and stuff, and it just helps me be better on the track myself. So, as far as going to the line, I always, when we're in the staging lanes, I always like getting off my bike and going and standing on the track and watch a couple pairs go down and stuff like that. Even if it's cars, it just puts me in a different mindset, I guess. But as far as once we start the bike in the burnout, I do my burnout based off what Andrew wants, pull up to the line, and just kind of get in the zone and go from there. You know, it's a rush for sure. I always say the scariest part is slowing down.
How do you slow it down? I don't remember. Do you have parachutes?
No, we have no parachutes. Parachutes are allowed. One guy, Chris Bosick, used to run one. He doesn't no more. But we have front and rear brakes. We got 2 in the front, 1 in the rear, and they do a good job in stopping for sure. You know, we come back from a run. Obviously, we go through the scales, the fuel check, come back. The first thing we do is check the motor, make sure it's fine, whether or not we got to change it out, you know, before the next round, next qualifier. And then the clutch is the biggest thing. We service the clutch after every run.
Where's the clutch at?
It's right here. So this is the clutch itself. There's a lot of the clutch plates and fibers are not in there at the moment. Neither is the actual clutch itself, clutch hat. That's kind of secretive. But you know, that's where the magic happens for the 60-foot and 330. So, but you know, if the motor checks out good, that's basically all that happens between rounds. Is we service the clutch. I do the rear tire, chain, stuff like that, and any other little chassis adjustments that need to be done as far as making it more comfortable for me going down the track.
How would you describe the difference between I guess, crappy run and a good run? Like, you know, because it's so tiny of a margin.
Yeah, so I mean, you can have a perfect run, or you can have a decent run that feels good, and it can be really bad. You know, if we leave the line and it shakes the tire, shoots you left or right, it's hard to bring these big slicks back in line and back in the groove. You know, you end up scrubbing a lot of speed, a lot of ET. So it can happen in a split second. As soon as you cut the clutch, you know, you could go left or right, or even down track. If you're fighting your chassis or doing something weird, fighting it down track, it can hurt you quite a bit, ET-wise and speed. So, and the shift points. Shift points are the biggest thing. I mean, I shifted in the second gear before the 60-foot, and I'm in 4th, a little past the 330, so it's pretty quick, you know, getting on the shifts. I mean, so that's a big part for the riders. I feel like that's really the biggest challenge, is always nailing your shifts, because these motors revved 14,000, so they rev pretty quick and fast, but it takes a lot to get used to. These are a different animal, for sure. Thanks for coming and touring our Pro Stock Motorcycle pit at Vance Hines Revzilla. Hope you guys enjoyed.